Hello, Wisconsin. How's it going, everybody? Shout out to the couple of folks that hop in from out of state as well. It's pretty cool to see. Can you turn your volume off? Oh, we're good. Just some audio surround going on over here. Um, there we go. We're back. Thanks again for joining, guys. Saturday. Sorry I didn't make it out here last night. I think I was just really tired. Because I felt like maybe I was getting something, but woke up, felt rejuvenated, ready to rock. I got my San Pellegrino, that old blood orange, 0-calorie sparkling water. Feeling great. I really need to talk to those guys about sponsorship because they're great. Shout out to Higher Love. Appreciate their support with the podcast. They're the ones that make this whole thing possible. Really appreciate everything they do. We got a huge collab coming up with the Menominee location opening up, so stay tuned on that. I got the date that they're going to be opening. I just didn't know if they shared that with the public yet, so hang tight. It's not too far out, and looking forward to seeing you guys there. The discount code is above me and also in the comments. So, again, shout out to Higher Love. If you guys haven't given them a chance yet, please make sure you do. I highly doubt you will be disappointed. So, much love to Higher Love. With that, let's get a couple folks in here. We'll bring in Maddie.
Hey,
if you've been around a while, you've probably seen him a time or two if you were able to make it out to Lebowski Fest. Excuse me. He was the awesome speaker we had there, obviously. So shout out again, Maddie. We're glad to have you on the Let's Legalize Wisconsin team, and love to collab anytime. So thanks for stopping out tonight, man.
Hell yeah. Glad to be here, bro.
Right on. And we got another gentleman, John. Woo, what's up, Johnny?
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for hopping out. John had left a message in the comments that he would hop on when we were asking about who would want to hop on. So thought it'd be cool to get a take from a general follower / mover in his own little spot. And I don't know, I always love interacting with you guys. And I was like, let's open this thing up. So glad to have you, John. Thanks for hopping on.
You bet.
Robert says, congrats on 16. Hey, appreciate that, man. Appreciate that very much. We did have, well, actually, John, if you just want to give us a quick background, just kind of on where you're from, or just a quick story on your introduction to cannabis. We always like to kind of share that.
Well, I'm from Palmyra, which is in Jefferson County, just in the southern part of the state. I'm 54, and I've been smoking since I was 16 years old. Never had any issues. So that was my introduction to cannabis, was after school, going to a friend's house on the way there. So
right on. That's how it starts. The old friend, one of them friends.
Yeah.
But no, right on. Thanks again for joining, man. Appreciate that. So yeah, you said since 16. Maddie, how old were you?
I was probably 14, 15, 16, somewhere right in there when I started smoking weed.
Okay. I think I was about 16 or 17, so right around that same spot. So small world, doesn't seem to matter. Cheers to that, boys. I would be smoking inside, but I respect my wife's not like of the smell. So we drink the sparkling water after we're done smoking. But no, thanks everybody for stopping out. We were going to talk over a few different, just thought it'd be cool to have a unique take. Sometimes, it's just me kind of chopping it up on here. And I don't know, I always just like engaging with other people and thought we would just have some fun. Just talking about whatever. So a lot of you guys had some ideas on things to talk about. If you want to drop those in the comments here in the chat, otherwise I'm going to be pulling up the posts that we had here. There's a couple of good ones on today's post. Appreciate those who were able to drop one down there. My Facebook's acting all like it's not right, but hey, here we go. All right. Here's one of the first questions. If you should be fired if you use CBD at work, I use it and it keeps me smooth and calm at work, says Paul K. CBD, the non-intoxicant, that would be a hard for me, even if you got the minute traces of THC. Again, you can tell if in my opinion, you can tell if someone is elevated to the point that they are, under the influence of cannabis, where it's a work concern. My thought process would be CBD should be good to go. What are your guys' take on that?
I agree.
I would say the same thing. I honestly think if you fail, THC or CBD for a piss test, I don't think they should have a leg to stand on this, because unless they can prove that you were high in the moment, which, if somebody was abusing it to the point where they're completely, a danger to other people in the workplace, then I can understand, you have to be rational about this stuff. And if it is a recreational use, if it's recreational use, well, then it shouldn't be at work. And if it's medicational use, well, then it shouldn't be that high of a dose to where you're impaired at work, So I would say that there is going to be a line there, but I would say that as far as a urinalysis goes, that doesn't really prove that you were high in that moment. So honestly, urinalysis, whether it's THC or CBD, I hope to see a day where it just doesn't matter, when THC just isn't even on the freaking test strip anymore. That's what I would love to see.
I would agree with that. And John, do you have much practice with CBD?
I've had it, but I just can't believe CBD would be tested for. I don't get that. I understand the THC, I guess, a little more, but
well, and
CBD
I think part of it. What's up, Philip? Thanks for stopping out, buddy. I always appreciate you. I think part of it is, and I could be wrong because I wasn't in the CBD game in the early part of the 2018 when CBD was really rolling, really getting traction. But I know for a while there, the CBD was straight just the CBD isolate from the plant, or there's a lot of options that are just isolate from the plant. But when you go to a full spectrum, that's also going to have a trace amount of THC because it has all the goodness of the hemp plant. So there are small traces of THC. And I know when I was selling that, so even if it was a CBD balm with very, 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 you're not going to get high, but it still technically had THC in it. I had to make sure the customers knew, hey, just in case you do get tested, this could still pop up. But there's still got to be something where they can tell, because it's just they got to have the technology. We have so much technology. It's just frustrating. Real quick, Jill said, did you know some of the Delta 8 have a lot more than 0.3% and don't have any Delta 9 reading? Yes.
Unfortunately, go ahead, Ben.
Or no, you're good, Maddie. You go, man.
Well, unfortunately, with the way things are in our state and with the way legalization just on the frontier of it right now, so we're just now seeing the testing of the amount of THC and CBD and CBG and THCA and all these different cannabinoids that are in the plant. We're just now getting the equipment that is specified to test it for those different cannabinoids, So a lot of your cannabis companies that you're getting it from, unfortunately, at this point, a lot of it is just guesswork. On some of them, some of the labels aren't even accurate at all, especially if you're going to a low reputable source. If you're going to a gas station for your CBD or THC, which I do not recommend, but some people are in that situation where especially if you're in the Northwoods of Wisconsin, it's few and far between places where you're going to find cannabis. So it's going to be a gas station dispensary kind of situation. And you're not going to be sure what you're getting in that kind of a situation. Hopefully in the future, I really hope for full legalization, and then we'll see that kind of stuff. We'll see THC shops, and you'll have the guy behind the counter that's a little more knowledgeable about what the plant has in it and all of that. I look forward to a bright future of all that stuff.
For sure. John, have you had any experience with Delta 8 products?
I just kind of figured a lot of that stuff, it isn't regulated, if I'm really regulated.
Correct.
So packaging, I don't never really trust the packaging. It's I'm going to get what I get, because
sure.
I'll tell you what, I got some gummies, the Delta 9, whatever, and I took one day and one another, and there was a total complete difference. I think this one's got more than the other one had. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But regulation is going to go a far way, and, to help people understand that and know exactly, if I'm buying this, I hope this is what's in it,
Sure.
And at Lebowski Fest, the guys from the cannabis company there, I went over and checked out their counter, and I bought a little pre-roll from him. And then he's like, would you like a sample gummy? And I was like, yeah, I'd love a sample gummy. And he gave me a big red square, and he's like, I don't know what your tolerance is. You might want to try if you're going to take it now, you might want to try half of it, And I was like, yeah, I'll just eat half of it now. And then he hands me a smaller one, and he was like, here, dude, I'll give you one of these too, but don't eat that one right now. And his buddy was like, yeah, don't eat that one right now. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to eat that one right now. And Caitlin and I took half of it and she ate the other half the other night. And we had a fire and sat at our campsite at the campground. And like, dude, we laughed so hard and we had such a good time. I don't know what was in that or what it was so great, dude. Like, what a good night.
If I remember correctly, those were the THC. Did they last a really long time compared to normal cannabis?
Yeah, compared to normal and compared to like what edibles normally do for me. Normally, edibles don't really hit me. But he told me, he was like, this might sound crazy, but this is 30 times stronger than a normal.
Oh yeah, so that was the P. So there is a place for Delta 8. That is, I completely get where you guys are coming from, because unfortunately there is no regulation. So unfortunately there are, like most gas stations, I definitely would never, there are a few reputable brands that sell some of their product in the gas station. But again, if you don't know what you're getting and you don't know what you're used to, and don't, those guys behind the counter don't know anything about the product. So definitely don't recommend that. There are places who are doing taking the time to make the products, and they actually sell them too. Or there's a couple places that are resellers of the Wisconsin brands that are doing it right. And Delta 8 and Delta 9 are going to be somewhat similar. Delta 8 is just going to be a little less psychoactive. But being that Delta 8 is not what's regulated, as far as you can't have more than 0.3% of Delta 9. That's the only rule out there. So you can have 5,000 milligrams of Delta 8, and that's going to feel like 3,000 milligrams of Delta 9, which you can't get in any legal state around here. So it's just a big cluster, and it's just really confusing for everybody, and it's just making things very difficult. So completely understand where it is frustrating. But you definitely can get higher amounts of Delta 8 or Delta 10. And then THCP is not that Delta 9, which is what they watch. And THCP, I'm a lightweight, but I just had a regular gummy that would normally be my dosage of Delta 8, which is 20 milligrams. And it had only 3 milligrams of THCP, and I was high for 18 hours because just that little bit of THCP, man, it's just, you got to be careful. Do not try anything without talking to somebody who you can tell is confident in what they're talking about, because it's no joke.
There's so many new cannabinoids, or I don't know if they're necessarily new, but I mean, I've been smoking weed.
Newly available, for sure.
Yeah, since smoking weed since forever, and all we ever talked about was THC. And then I remember when CBD all of a sudden became a thing everybody was talking about, and it was like I didn't even know, and then I had to find out what that was, cannabidiol, and then now I'm like, they got Delta 8 and Delta 9, and then THC. Well, now we know about THCA, and I know they knew about that before, but I'm just learning of it all, and it's like, holy shit, I didn't realize there was this many different cannabinoids in this plant and that they all played such a specific role. And it's just mind-blowing stuff.
It is. And a lot of it we're still learning, as far as like THCA. I had never really heard the term until late last year or early last year. And same with CBD. I mean, it's been around for maybe not hundreds of years. Well, maybe they knew it was CBD, whatnot. But it's been around a long time. But we as consumers are getting introduced to this stuff as we're growing and trying to have to deal with these regulations that make access to cannabis so difficult. So, speaking of that, here's maybe a term you guys are familiar with. Let me see if I can present my screen correctly. Boom, share, window to the wall. All right, let's debate if there are still. Oh, I'm kind of hidden under the banner here. I like that. Debate if there are still any true sativas or indicas anymore, or is that just an industry wording to help educate people? Yes, Philip says 378 known cannabinoids. Jeepers. Philip knows every single one of them. You got questions? Call his cell phone number. I'll give it to you. I'm just kidding. For you guys, do you have luck when you go to the store or the dispensary, you're picking up your product? Do you have luck with the sativas versus indicas? Or I know most places I go to now, I'd say the majority of stuff says hybrid, which would be the more technical. But just as far as the consumer side goes, for you guys, is that something you look for in your products?
Well, unfortunately, I don't usually have I don't have the ability to get from a legal source. But when I do to a legal source, I always stick to a sativa. I try to stick away from indica because as far as I can tell, it definitely there's a difference. When I smoke a sativa, I notice right away. I'm like more talkative. I'm like ready to go do stuff. I want to go down to the basement and start a new project, but when I smoke indica, even one hit, I'm on the couch and I'm watching Scooby-Doo, or so I make sure I stick to a sativa.
That's fair. John?
I prefer a sativa, just for the up. You like to be active and this and that. Kind of on what Maddie was saying. I can't always go to Illinois or Michigan, and then I could specifically say pick out a sativa. I have to get it from a buddy, and he gets whatever he has, so I deal with it. But I kind of do like, if I do have an indica, it is a nice relaxing in the evening to smoke one, before you go to bed or whatever. That's always nice.
Sure. But I agree with that. It's
but I get what I can get.
Right. I didn't know the difference. I didn't know indica versus sativa when I was, in high school. And then when I got to college, I remember a buddy like, yo, I got some Northern Lights. And I'm like, what the hell what are we talking here, dude? And then he gets out his baggie, and I was like, and then he's explaining, I don't even know if we knew it was a strain. We just knew like, no, this is the Northern Lights kind, And so that was my first indica experience, because it was, it was always, maybe I was smoking hybrid for the most part or something, but it was just always kind of a nice mellow. And then at Northern Lights, man, I was just like toast. Like, what is happening? What's in here? And I think
I have go ahead.
Oh no, you're good, John. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I was going to have a question for you when you mentioned Northern Lights.
Yeah.
I can't since I know I'm a little older than you guys, but back in the late 80s, we're just smoking whatever we got, and my buddies went to UW-Madison, so I'd visit them all the time, and I'd get a buddy that'd say, "Hey, this is Humboldt County," from California. I'm like, "Oh, all right, great." But I mean, now today, everything's got a damn name. I mean, do you go based off a name, or do you kind of go, no, this is what I'm really looking for? And it's kind of backtracking to the indica sativa conversation, but
no,
you know what I'm saying? It's just like crazy.
It is, and that's still my dream job, is to be the guy who gets to name strains, because
they got to be running out at some point. So.
When I get high, I love to just get that creativity unlocked. So I would love to be the guy to come up with it. But so for me, I know a lot of times so my favorite strain is Jack Herer. And if I go somewhere, they don't always necessarily have Jack Herer, but typically I can still find, like, for a while there, I forget what place it was, but they had Platinum Jack. So it was a cross of Platinum and Jack. So it works pretty good. So I kind of just watch it that way, as far as, I know with Kushes, I know kind of how that affects me. So if I see Kush, I can kind of, but a lot of times it's getting now where a lot of the names don't have anything I've heard before. So it can be tough, because you can find a favorite strain and then you go back and then they don't have it. And it's like, oh, I want something just like that.
That's exactly the problem. And I've never put in too much credit in the names. Like, I've never stuck to the names at all, because and I was never spoiled enough to be able to stick to a name. It was always just whatever somebody had, and it always came up with some crazy name. They're just like, oh, this is green crack, or oh, this is alien semen, or just something off the wall that you're just like, okay, all right. And this one's just Darth Vader. Okay.
It's always got some crazy name. It used to be all swag. It sure felt like that. I would say Waldo was asking real quick. So, is sativa indica more influenced by terpenes or actual plant genetics? From my understanding and learning, when we learned more about terpenes and we started making some terpene-only gummies and smokables, realizing how much terpenes really affect the body. I think terpenes might have the most to do with it. I could be wrong, just because I know some plants will say they're indica because that's their genetics, but they still might not be a true downer. I think there should just be a general term, and I'm okay with, but would just have to be like a whole education thing. If it's just, okay, if this typically, 90% of the time this plant makes you sleepy, it's indica. and 90% of the time it's an upper, it's sativa or something along those effects. I think would just be a good way to use it going forward, because there are a lot of hybrids, but it still would be nice to know what the most the
Where's he going?
most amount of terpenes.
I'm going to leave too if
John.
he's leaving.
John just
No, I'm here.
No, you're good. We got Daryl here. He's just grew Northern Lights in Ohio. Daryl, come on down, or come on over. We'll take that off your hands for you.
Gotta get a soda.
Oh, you're good. I pray it becomes legal for your whole country, like how Canada has legalized across the whole country. That's great. Yeah, that's a great point, Brandy. Me too, 100%. Josh is a sour diesel fan. I know I hear a lot of sour strains in that. So, we had a couple other cool questions I'm going to pull up over here. Let me pull up the screen. Wait, how did it switch to that? What'd I do here? Somebody messing with my stuff, boys? There we go. All right, let's grab our next question. Boop, this looks like a good one. Don's always got the best of the best. Paste without formatting. All right. So, do you guys think there should be automatic upgrades to alcohol licenses? Add single-use products to all alcohol licenses and small multi-packs to distilled spirit licenses. They're already in the business of age-restricted sales and work with a closed supply chain. Cannabis has been a fact of life for Tavern League members since before many of us were even born. So, essentially, do you guys think that with legalization, as far as consumers, if you were to go to a bar, how comfortable would you feel they'd get a quick little education on some cannabis products?
I think as far as recreational use, that'd be great. That'd be fine, because recreational use is kind of just par for the course. But that's my personal opinion. Medical use, I still stick to it should be at a dispensary, and there needs to be knowledgeable people, and that's a whole different ballgame there on legalization fronts. But the recreational world, I really think that if you can, as long as it's somewhat known what kind of strain you're getting and it's tested to where it's not dangerous or anything, then yeah, if a bar wants to sell some weed behind the bar or whatever, or cannabis infused out or drinks or whatever, I'm all for that. I think that'd be great.
John?
I don't know. I think, in my opinion, alcohol should stay at the bar, and any weed in its form should be at a dispensary. That's just my opinion, though.
No, that's fair. And I think if it were to be, what I would like to see if it were in the bar is there is a hemp product out right now with hemp-derived Delta-9 that I've seen in a few bars that are called, I think they're called like a slap pack. They just have 2 gummies in them. So to me, there would definitely have to be some kind of restriction, in my opinion, at least until, this is going to be pretty new for Wisconsin people to go to a bar and be able to possibly buy gummies or other items behind the counter. And I think that that's something that should be not rushed. So it's just, 5 milligram, 2-pack, but it's just not, you can just keep buying them. So maybe they got to be priced a little more, because of the ease of use or the ease of access. They're priced a little higher, $5 a gummy or something. But I do agree it wouldn't be a bad idea just to let people figure out their stuff for a minute, because I feel like we would be pretty responsible, but just especially people who aren't used to cannabis. And then edibles are scary from the standpoint of they take a minute to kick in. So I would hate for somebody to take one and then, I want another one. You would hope that the bartender or whoever's working would be like, hey, you got to wait a little while yet. You're good,
See, that's kind of an issue too. I mean, and then you got alcohol on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that's the tough part for sure. Waldo says, I think those bars should be treated like dispensaries as far as card processing goes. I agree with that. Because for you guys who haven't been in the industry, the whole banking thing is a big issue for hemp companies too. And then like now with taking payments even at retail stores, a lot of times they get closed down because they get confused on that you're selling hemp and not. It's messy. So I definitely think that should be across the board, regardless of where you're selling from. If it's a dispensary or a bar, I think it should definitely be fair to everyone to share into that struggle. Unfortunately, just put pressure on them to get it figured out.
I would think there would also have to be some kind of restriction on the amount of like THC allowed in the product that you would get,
Sure.
be allowed to sell in such an establishment. Because, I mean, if you're selling high dose cannabis either way, whether it be gummy form or smokables or whatever, like you guys said, somebody comes to the bar and ends up a little too drunk and then they're already inebriated and then they take a gummy and now they're way over, but if it were like much like alcohol, like, beer and stuff has an alcohol percentage and it's only allowed to be that much,
Sure.
Same thing with cannabis, maybe.
Nope. I think that's a good idea. We had a question. It's weird to copy and paste it, so I'm just going to read it here. The impact of legalization upon the unregulated markets, such as off the streets, and for people who are struggling with harder drugs. Do you feel that there are tactical advantages in legalization?
Legalization of cannabis to help people get off of other drugs?
Yeah.
That's a crazy thought. I don't know if it would work.
If only we knew a guy who could tell us how that works.
No, I am totally for that, man. That's my story right there, man. I stepped away from meth and
That would be awesome.
now I smoke cannabis, and it helped me in the early stages to really stay away from it because like methamphetamine has a hardcore, like you get some hardcore cravings. Like you think you crave chocolate, you have no idea, man. Talk about laying there like sweating late at night, like can't sleep, like urges, like clenching your teeth. And the first while there was insane. Thank God my first 90 days I was in a jail cell, so I couldn't get to it, But then once I got out, I really think that first 90 days of like nothing in my system get me back to a base, of where was I at, how, what drugs were needed, what drugs weren't needed. That really helped me sort a lot of things out. And then once I got out of jail, though, that's when the real time starts. That's when you really get tested because now there's no steel wall between you and the drugs. So cannabis really helped me keep my head on straight. Like I said in the past, like in the beginnings, I was on high doses and it was like I kept a bowl loaded right underneath. I was sleeping on my buddy's couch and I had my bowl loaded right underneath the couch. I'd wake up and like the first thing I'd do is grab that bowl and just smoke the whole thing right to my head, like instantly. As soon as my eyes opened, it was like, all right, here we go. Like, let's gotta keep this fucking train moving,
Sure.
These days my dosages, I use a one hitter, so like
Same. Yeah, I'm not.
So I'm nowhere near those dosage levels anymore. But it was a huge help in setting my world straight, man, and getting me to the place I am today. Today I got over 7 years off of meth and a beautiful wife and a home and car and a job and starting a career and trying to help other people step away and trying to help get weed legalized. Like, yeah, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. So I'm a big supporter of cannabis for harm reduction and for that wean down process,
And real quick, Joseph with a comment from an ex-addict, weed THC does help getting off other substances. Great to hear you found a path off as well, man. And make sure you give Maddie a follow. He is an awesome, inspirational fella with a great story as well. And he rocks it quite a bit. You always see him out there spreading the word. So make sure you give him a quick follow as well, my man. Thanks for stopping by, Joseph.
Congratulations, man.
And then John, if you want to attack the other side of that question, as far as if there was a dispensary in your city that had Michigan prices, would you still be buying from a buddy or would you be stopping at the dispensary?
So you're saying there's a dispensary in my town, but the prices are based on the state of Michigan's prices? Is that what you said?
Compared to Illinois, like right now. I would say Michigan seems to be like half the price of Illinois. So if you can get an ounce for $115. They're munchkins, so they're a little smaller, but still just that kind of general pricing that you see in Michigan. What are your thoughts on where you'd be consuming from?
If I could get stuff, it's an interesting question, actually.
Yeah. You're on the spot.
I'd probably still get it from the dispensary.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, It's there.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, and again, it's making sure and trying to help with the framework to make sure that it gets done right. Like it should be the appropriate amount of checks and balances. You don't have to, overdo it, but there has to be some kind of check and balance. But I feel like that's what we look for when we go to a dispensary is you can tell that it might look safe, but you can't tell for sure that it is safe. So I feel like that's the process of the dispensary, and that should be what you're paying maybe a couple dollars more, an eighth or something. But
Sure.
and I think Wisconsin is in a really cool spot, and I know this is going to be tough because I know it's a lot about big money. But man, if we could get like a cottage industry, my vision would be you go to like a farmer's market, and each farmer kind of has like his own 2 or 3 strains that he's just got honed in, and he made it because his dad grew it, and like just we have such a unique thing with how many farmers are in this state that I mean it should be this kind of craft. We've always been about the people. I don't know. It gets me excited, but I know it's going to be a tough battle. Excuse me. Waldo says you can get 75 an ounce right now in Iron Mountain. Jeez, Louise. I don't know how they make money on that. Michigan prices a lot better, says Anna. I agree. Brandy says I prefer the cannabis dispensaries because I know I don't have to have that worry of getting bad weed laced with fentanyl. It's happened lots.
Yeah, that's a worry. I know that's one huge area where I'm pushing for legalization is that worry. I mean, most drugs that are laced with fentanyl are going to be your powder drugs, of course, but it has happened where people are putting fentanyl in weed, because it is, if you can get the right dosage in there and somebody doesn't, hit it and OD and die, like it can cause enough of a downer effect to where you think you just got some really good weed, so people will take some bullshit weed and add fentanyl to it so that you hit it and you think you got some good stuff. So that's not out of the question. But that is a really good question. Like what does the government have to bring to the table here for legalization in order to get people to stop going to Joe Schmo? Because like, as far as weed has turned around in this country, I mean, back when I was first starting to smoke weed, most of what you got was brick brown weed. And then every once in a while you'd get some decent weed. And then every once in a while you would get some nugs. Like nowadays, it's like all you get is good weed all the time. So it's like the government better come out with their big guns if they want to fucking come out with a good deal,
Sure. No, I agree with that. We got a random question here. Is it goldfish or goldfish? The card game.
The card
it's
game.
Goldfish.
Yeah. Goldfish is the cracker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think I was set up for failure. They're trying to mess with me. I know it's goldfish. Yeah, he's trying to tell me it's goldfish and it's a Mendoza effect or whatever.
Mandela effect. No, it's goldfish because
Mendoza.
when you don't have the right card, you got to go fish from the pile.
Yes. So okay. It is goldfish. Damn it. How much does it cost to actually produce a pound of cannabis? I know what my numbers are. Wondering if anyone else keeps those metrics. Oh, good question. Because it'd be hard to say. Mine was expensive because that was a personal grow, and I stressed the plants out, and it was a disaster. But no, it would be good to know people who are in the game that are growing what the cost is to actually produce a pound of cannabis. That's a very good question. If anyone's got an answer that's in the audience, let us know. What do we got here?
I am not a green thumb, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, okay. No. Waldo says 350 to 400 for indoor per elbow. If you're looking for those elbows. So we'll see if that's close to Philly Scott. We've got, what does this say here? Cannabis culture, then and now. This would kind of be a neat question that I'd have for you, John. What year did you graduate?
88.
88. So you would have been about 20 years. I was 07. That's 20. Is that 20 year different about, right? I suck at math. Yes, that's about 20 years. So when I was in high school, I'm going to assume it was probably pretty similar to what you experienced as far as the people who smoked didn't really leave anything to show that they smoked during school hours. And then on the weekends, it was this kind of tight group of just chill people, and we didn't really mess around too much with drinking or partying. But I'm assuming it was the same thing for you, like growing up, and you couldn't let your parents know, couldn't let your job know. Similar situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on. And Maddie, was it the same for you? I know we're close. I think we're like the same age, but
I was caught up reading comments over here. What was the question again?
Oh no, you're good. Just I'm assuming it was the same thing for you too. Like as far as when you started using, and even in those first couple early years, it's just like you don't really want anyone to know you do it unless it's somebody that you feel is maybe a consumer as well, and you got to
Oh yeah, for sure. The atmosphere towards cannabis has totally changed, and that's been a wonderful thing to be a part of and to watch and to see like how it's turned to. Now you're not really scared to even say it. You know what I mean? Like we were just joking around at a car show yesterday, and we walked past the Batmobiles. They had 5 generations of the Batmobiles, and we were joking about how we should jump in there and smoke a joint in one of the Batmobiles, you know. And then we went over by we were walking past a dude had a Dodge Roadrunner, and we were like, oh, does it actually have the old meep horn, you know? And he's like, of course it's got the meep horn, but they make me disconnect my battery so I can't show you. And I was like, well, shit, we were about to smoke a joint in the Batmobile. Let's fire it up and fucking hit the meep, and then we'll jump in the Batmobile, smoke a joint, and get kicked out. It'll be a good time, you know? And they all started laughing, and, you know, but like you said, like 20 years ago, if you'd have said that, you'd have got all the, talk about smoking weed in here, man. Quit it. What do you, wow, you got balls, you know. It's a different atmosphere. I mean, it's almost legal, you know, in a majority of the states now. In some form, it's legal, you know.
Sure.
And it's already in some forms legal here in Wisconsin, you know, CBD and Delta 8 and all the other things, you know. So it's getting there, but I'm just waiting for that final push, you know, because at this point it's just confusing. Like it's CBD and Delta 8 or whatever is legal, and normal THC is not, but THCA is, which makes no sense, you know. Right. And then it's like decriminalized within the city of Madison and also in Eau Claire County, but
not in Crivets, not in. Learn that interesting way. Hey, Bubba, thanks for stopping by. I have a question for you guys because I often wondered this, and just give me your real take on this. So when I would work at a dispensary and a consumer would come in, are you guys yourselves, are you pretty comfortable walking in and asking questions like, hey, so how does this Delta 8 work? Or one of my ideas is to come up with like a really in-depth application that is like everything cannabis in Wisconsin. So it would be like, if you want to learn about Delta 8, you can kind of go down a rabbit hole, but it'd be from a source. Like you can, you Google something now and there's just so many different articles. So it'd kind of be like a trusted source, and you could go online. Is that something you think you'd maybe spend a little more time like researching before you go, or do you guys enjoy going into the store kind of with your questions and getting the feedback from people, or what's your guys' take on what you prefer there?
The second, what you said, I'd rather just go in, and then you also hope that whoever you're talking to is knowledgeable and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of fun thing of it. Right. And then maybe when you get back, maybe start looking it up.
Or maybe, so I had a lot of folks that would come in, ask questions, but then apparently when they get home, they'd forget. So like when I would tell them like, okay, there's 10 pieces to the chocolate bar, take a quarter, that maybe just having like a little reminder when you get home of what you talked about, like a little summary, maybe that wouldn't be a bad thing.
For sure. Matt, I could definitely see almost like it's crazy when you talk difference between, and I'm really glad John's here, because talking the difference between medicinal and recreational, where his attitude is more like, hey, what I get is what I get. Maybe this one will make me a little floaty, make me, it'll be great. And whereas like a medicinal attitude, you're more like, yeah, but I don't like that floaty head, and that doesn't help with my depression and things like that. Sure. So I'm really glad to have you here and sharing your thoughts, because my head always goes towards the, I want the regulation and I want the the paperwork, or like what he was just saying with a reminder for later on, when you get home, and then the effects later. And to hear your front of it of just, hey, but whatever. And that's been very refreshing, man. I appreciate your candor on it all for sure.
But I like how you mentioned you want the specifically medicinal, and yeah, what you're wanting and what you don't want. That's cool too. And maybe people don't realize that, or stuff like that. So I like that idea too.
That really shows the difference on how we're talking about the same subject, but two different perspectives, and how different people are looking for different aspects of this situation.
That's awesome, man. That's what we're hoping for. This is cool. Appreciate it. What are some of the different ways that you guys have tried as far as consumables go? I know brownies, obviously, or edibles have been around for a while. Have you guys noticed have you got a chance to try any of the cannabis drinks? And if so, have they affected you similar or different from your dosage in edible form?
I've never had one. Cannabis drink. No.
Okay. Are you guys got a Woodman's by you?
Yeah.
Relatively close.
So next time you're at Woodman's, grab Honeybee Cannabis. It's usually in the back of the liquor department, towards the back, but you will find a 4-pack of drinks for $15. Try it. They're 5 milligrams of hemp-derived Delta 9, and it hits me about 10 milligrams of an edible. And I think part of that would be just the bioavailability of the drink, because your body your liver doesn't have to break it down. So yeah, they're great folks out of Wade down there in Madison. He worked for Anheuser-Busch for 16 years. I think that might be how he has it in at Woodman's. But no, great product, great quality product, and give that a shout, because again, the cool thing is it's still under the percentage that it's able to be sold in Wisconsin. So let's see what we got here. Dawn says, old folk with their aches and pains can chill all day. 3 cheers for retirement. There you go. We've got, I don't believe the Tavern League opposes legalization anymore. That is correct. Outreach is going well with them. The president or vice president is supposed to be hopping on a podcast, and I'm actually going to put down to just do a follow-up on that for the Google Notes. Where did I put my cell phone? Here we go.
I started looking around. I was trying to help you find it.
Appreciate that. Well, and so for those of you guys who didn't get to give you a quick little funny one about me and Maddie when we met. So we've talked online a few times, and then when we met at Lebowski Fest, we both got there early to set up, and so we kind of walked by each other for the first time. I was like, "Oh, hey, Maddie, what's up?" And I kept walking. I'm like, "Wait a second, dude! I've never met you in person." It's weird when. That's kind of the neat thing about the online, that it's able just to connect without having to drive to meet people for the first couple of times or whatever. So technology is.
I really think after 2020, it's like virtual took on a new role, like in our lives when 2020 and everybody became Zoom meeting everything, and it became like virtual is just as good as reality, really.
Oh, for sure.
I've met so many people that I used to from speaking engagements and stuff. I've met a lot of people that I only had seen online before. And it's amazing how it's like, it's just like seeing you on my phone.
That's kind of nuts. It's almost, dude, I'm still waiting, holding out hope for the day where, like in Star Wars, like you can see the person 3D holographically and their movements. Like it's got to be coming. Looking forward to that. Great point. Sensi is a great one as well. They're in quite a few festivals. You can check those by you guys as far as a Wisconsin-based product for hemp drinks. And Foundry and Balanced are amazing drinks as well. They are going to be at Ignite dispensaries and probably a few other places as well. What was my favorite one? Strawberry basil, I believe it is. Oof, can't mess with it. I've never been to Matty Jablonski, but I still feel like he's a good friend to me. Oh, that's cool, Brandy. Love to hear that.
Thanks, Brandy.
All right, looks like we got another off-the-wall question. If you guys could live in a fictional world for a week, which one would you choose and why?
Ooh.
Oh, that's deep.
Oh, that's a good one. Like, Do I want to go in like the Marvel universe? Nah, too much shit gets blown up and too many people die all the time.
I feel like have to be on alert a lot, right?
I feel like it's gonna be like Alice in Wonderland or something, somewhere cool, somewhere trippy. Maybe Willy Wonka, go hang out with him at the chocolate factory. I don't know, man. That's a good one.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Yes, Ray, it was great meeting you, man. I'm glad we were able to meet up at the festival. Sorry, go ahead there, Johnny.
Maybe the Wizard of Oz. Just go off into a dream, and
that'd be dope.
I don't know what character though. Jeez. Probably the wizard.
That would be dope. Why not? I'm gonna kick it a little wild here. Let's see. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to. Well, this is fictional, not true. So I guess I'm gonna have to go into a movie because my idol from the time I can remember. I don't remember a lot of movie quotes at all, and I'm jealous of a lot of people who can just like Seinfeld or just like they can tie quotes to everything from something. I can't remember shit, but I remember just about every line from Black Sheep and Tommy Boy because I absolutely loved Chris Farley. Same with Living in a Van Down by the River. That's where I would go. I would go to the Van Down by the River with Chris Farley or Matt Foley, kick it with him, and do whatever I could to help him get onto the cannabis train and get him rolling so that he was still around. So.
For sure.
That'd be where I'd go. Yeah. Real quick, Bubba, or Maddie. Bubba says, by the way, Maddie, proud of what you've overcome.
Appreciate you, Bubba. Thank you, man.
Sir. Okay, people, quit with okay, we need some real questions in the comments because my sister just keeps sending me goofy questions. So what else did you guys have that you'd like us to discuss or ideas, questions? This one is, what's one question you'd ask an alien visitor from another planet? Is there weed there? That's what I would probably lead with. You know what weed is, bro? Or you want me to show you?
One question that I would ask an alien from another planet.
Philip says, time for LLW to get a van to park by the river. Let's go. I'm all about that, dude. Let's get it.
I'd probably ask, what the hell are you doing here? Why'd you come to this place?
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. We don't even have legal weed here in Wisconsin. What are you doing? Maddie, what about you, man?
What would I ask an alien species, huh? Fuck, that's a deep question, man. I would kind of want to know if we came from them. Like, did they seed this planet? Like, are we from somewhere else?
Are we just pawns?
I've always thought that we had to have been seeded here, man.
Waldo says, should there be a Bobby Bean strain? We got a long way to go until. So I always said when I got into growing, I said I wanted to come up with one, but just not for just for my own sake. And I wanted to do, because my two favorite strains are the complete opposite, because there's Jack Hare, the more get shit done, and then Northern Lights, the don't get shit done. I'd love to do just a hybrid between the two, like a true 1-to-1 hybrid, just to see. Maybe that would be the ultimate hybrid.
There you go. And then we can name it Bobby Beans.
Hey, there you go. Plant them Bobby Beans.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
What year is your prediction for legalization, says Shane? I'm thinking it is going to be 2025. I'm shooting for 2024. I'll tell you what. I'm going to do everything I fucking can. 100%. What do you do when you find a strain that causes anxiety?
Ooh, that's a good question. Myself, when I get something that is like not good for my mental health, well, I'm very thankful. And that's another area where it's going to be good to have legalization and have a place where you can go, as long as you can get a consistent supply of something that's, comparable, because you don't want to use the same flavor forever, but you still want to get a variety of flavors with still within sticking with what you're used to and what helps with, your mental disorders or whatever's going on. So that's a good question. For myself, when I get myself a strain that doesn't work well for my mental illnesses, thank God I know dude's pretty cool with me, so I can bring it back, and switch it out. And he's not going to have the plethora that a dispensary does, but my dude usually has 2 different kinds of something, so he can usually help me out. and he always tries to stick with something that's going to help me because he's only got a few customers, and I'm one of the few that comes around and has a specific something that I'm looking for, But when I have something that brings up any of my mental disorders, it's just stop it right away. If it doesn't work well with my anxiety and starts triggering anxiety, it's nope. Okay, well, that's no good.
Well, and one thing I learned when dispensing was you always want to say, here's what the main feedback is on the strain. Here's what it typically is, but everybody is different. So I would definitely say if there's one that gives you high anxiety, I would look up the terpene profile because perhaps it's one of the terpenes, the major terpenes in that strain that your body doesn't work well with. And then I would look for the opposite, or you could probably Google like, hey, this was the one that didn't work well. You'd see which terpene was the most effective in that, and then say, this made me anxious. What should I do from here? There's probably a few resources out there for that. John, have you run into any of that before?
I haven't, and if I'm understanding this right, kind of the anxiety is like, in a sense, you're maybe too high. And if that's the case, I have heard, I don't know if there's any truth to this, but I have heard that if you took just some straight up CBD, it'll help calm you down, I guess. I don't know if that was true or not. So
no, that is for most people, that is definitely the case, and it's definitely recommended. And I would go
maybe
with
wouldn't hurt to have some around, if you might run into anxiety, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I would add to that it's very few and far between that I've ever had a cannabis strain that caused me anxiety. I've never had the problem of paranoia that a lot of people struggle with weed. They smoke a little weed and they're looking out the windows and thinking everybody's staring at them. In fact, my wife kind of gets that way. She'll be like, I feel like everybody's looking at me. It's like, nobody's looking at you, babe. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'll be like, she smoked pot before. Nobody cares, babe. But the problem that I ever find with certain strains or different types that I've had is an increase in depression. And when I have that, that's when I back my dosage off. Some people push harder into it. I've noticed that people, because cannabis does help with depression for some people, but it is a downer. So if your depression is increased by a specific strain, or if you're just going through a bout of depression, because it does kind of come in waves. Myself, when I go through a bout of depression, I go through a season of it or whatever, like I back my dosage down because it's just a little better for me to white knuckle and bear through that depression with a level head than it is to try and smoke it away,
Felt that. Learning your body. Waldo said, would you ever run for local or state government? How about you guys? Would you?
Nope. No.
No, I stay out of that.
So I feel like I definitely like to just help people, but seriously, not like, I feel like there's very few politicians out there who seem to actually when if we were to say, hey, this is a concern I have, I feel like most of them are going to give you, oh, well, that sucks, but it's because of da 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 da. Where like I would feel like I would be trying every day, like, shit, so this affects that guy this way. How can I help that guy? And then it would just turn into this, it's always, it just seems a little too. And my biggest thing, okay, like right now, if I'm in the Capitol building, that's my office is there. And then this Rob Voss is down the hallway and comes out with this medical bill for pill only for him. I'm sorry, but I'm not just going to stay in my office and be like, oh, hey, I appreciate you trying. I'm going to be like, every day, I'm be like, dude, what do we need to do? Like, I'm staying here until we figure this out, because how do things take so long? Is it all that much of a game, or that much of I got to check with who's donating money? Or when the majority of the people, when we're talking 70, 80% of people agree on something, and you can't get a way to figure that out, and damn near every other state has, that's just frustrating. I have a hard time sitting in a room and taking orders when that's the kind of nonsense that's going on. So I don't think I ever could. I always said I didn't care for politics, but I don't know if there was a big change in politics, maybe if it was a lot less like we are this way on this subject because we're Republican, or we're this way on this subject because we're Democrat. It just drives me nuts. So we'll leave it at that. I digress. Have you guys tried CBG? I personally love CBG. Oh, wait, hang on. I'm sorry. Kayla, I missed this. I asked you the other day, Beans, but I was just checking. Do you know why Wisconsin's not putting legalization forward to the citizens to vote on like we did in Colorado? Yes, and that'll be on the podcast with the state representative on Monday. I asked that question. So it was Walker on his way out, removed the ballot initiative, and I thought when I would bring that up that this guy would agree with me, but he brought up why he feels like it's a good thing that the initiative is off the ballot, and that is because they feel that it brings single issue voters to the polls, which directly affects, because then like his thing was if it was for cannabis right now, that then there'd be a lot more Democrats out voting, and vice versa. But to me, that's on you, dude. Like what that no. That was one of the things that maybe we saw differently on because
right. We don't want anyone to vote. Stay home.
Right. Where were we at on here? Hey, okay, sorry. So yeah, have you guys got a chance to try CBG?
I don't think
at least not
didn't know.
Straight up. Maybe it was with some other Delta, mixed in, but no, not.
Mhm.
I really don't know about it.
So for me, I like CBD. It gives me the pain relief, the anxiety relief. And then if I take the same amount of CBD still kind of mellows me out just a little bit. I mean, I'm not like, psychoactive wise, it doesn't, but like CBD, when I take a good dose of it, I'm just like pretty calm. Like this calm comes over. Where CBG, it's almost like it calms, but like just a slight, maybe caffeine too. Almost like a little more boost for me. As far as productivity and stuff. I wouldn't say it's like an Adderall or anything to that effect for me, but it's just like a slight, almost like a caffeine. And again, it lasts, when I take the tablet form, it lasts a good 4 or 5 hours. So I definitely recommend CBG from a reputable place. We do have Tab Ease. They make those in pill form, and we got a little promo code for them. So if you want to check them out, highly recommend it. There's a lot of other great places around as well. Hang on here. Got a couple
Melissa
more questions.
Says it's amazing for people that struggle with manic episodes and bipolar episodes.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah, good.
Don says my skills are best used in activism and heckling. I love it.
Good work, Don.
I have a friend now running for Wisconsin Assembly in Portage County. Very pro cannabis, Vinny Marizzi. Hey, see if he wants to hop on the podcast. I'd love to chat with him, and we'll get him on here, get him on the platform. Would love to do that. Let me know if he's interested. Why weed in a pill form for Big Farm? That's my concern as well. The black suits walk in as soon as you're elected and tells you how it is. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that as well, 100%. Fire right there. Medicating, you'll be fine in the assembly. That's just something they don't think about. Dollars, cannabis. Here we go. CBG can magnify and enhance the cannabinoids it's paired with. Hey, there we go.
Good information.
We got the promo code in the comments for Tab Ease. Philip Scott hooked it up with got me a sample of CBD and CBN. That definitely. Have you guys tried CBN before?
That's the first I'm hearing about that one.
Right? So yeah. CBN, if you
I've heard it, but I had no idea what it is.
If you ever need help getting to sleep, CBN is beautiful. And again, so it's similar to like how my dosage of THC, I'm small dose, and it's the same with CBN in the fact that if I take the normal, what's normal for most people, I take that amount of CBN, then I can't wake up in the morning. Like it's really good at like making you tired, groggy, and it's actually, why is this? Hang on. Can you guys still hear me? Why is my screen black?
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
I can hear you.
There it goes.
Screen time out on you?
No, or it might have. There we go. All right. So, and CBN is just going to be THC as it degrades over time. So, again, you get a lot of the benefits, but not the psychoactivity. So, yeah, Waldo says Z's. It definitely makes you sleepy. Brandy says, my dad got CBD capsule because he didn't want to smoke, so I'm thankful for edible OID CBD capsule. Believe that. Don says, unfortunately, we can hear. Thanks for stopping by, Don. Love you. He always...
Fucking busting chops.
He is. What else you guys got for questions here that we can debate at the round table? I'm actually sitting at an L-shaped table, so don't tell anybody. I did say round table. I may have lied. Let's see what else we got in the family chat. If you had the power to read minds, whose would you want to read first? Oh.
I don't think I like that one.
What?
I'm staying out of people's minds. I don't want to know.
Oh, come on now. You know you want to know.
They might not like me, and I don't want to know that.
I had the power to read minds.
Maybe my dogs. I've always wondered what she
That'd be cool, right? I often play the conversation in my head when I'm talking to him. I'm like, he's excited. Like, what is he thinking? Is he literally thinking like, or like when we leave for 5 minutes, does he really think it's 5 hours?
Yeah.
Or does he just love me that much?
I think he just loves you that much, buddy.
I think I would go to the mind of, man, I was supposed to be Jack Hare because I would know so much about the plant. And, you know, as far as his activism, all that, if I could tap into that, I mean, I'd probably much rather prefer just an hour sit down with him,
Right.
just to ask him questions. But, you know, I got to check out a couple of his books and stuff, and I would love to, I guess, let's change it to a sit down with one person for an hour. And I'm going Jack Hare.
Oh, sit down.
1 hour.
Live or so this person has to be alive, right?
No, they can be.
Oh, okay. All right. They, just sit down. I don't know. Probably Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead. I think that like to sit down and talk to him.
I like that.
See what went when I wouldn't mind being in his head to see what the hell went on some of the times during his life. So
right. Maddie, who you sitting down with?
I'm going with my man JC.
Hey, oh shit!
I'm going back. I'm blazing one with Jesus.
There you go, dude. I love it.
I got some questions.
Right. About that. Philip says, should we find a spot in Voss's district and host a cannabis event? See if law enforcement pushes the issue because it's his hometown. That is actually genius, Philip.
Interesting question.
I think that is a great idea. Waldo says he would call the fire department and hose everyone down. Right? No, I think it'd be great to put a little pressure on the situation. Obviously, only have legal products there, or just to be talking to people and stuff. But it would be really interesting to see how that shook out. So we should see if we got some folks in the area. Randy says, I really wonder if Jesus smoked weed. I know a good friend who's a big advocate, and his take is that Jesus was so happy because he was always walking around high. When they talk about him being anointed in oil, that it was like a hemp oil.
There was at the I don't have my Bible with me, but the ingredients for the holy anointing oil, one of the plants used for holy anointing oil is a mystery plant that no one knows what it is, but it was cannabasum oil. Cannabasum, cannabis. Or it was in some translations, it was called the fragrant reed. Like, so they're not sure exactly, but it's pretty good chance it was weed. Egyptians were known for using cannabis back then, and way before Jesus's time, even Egypt, they were using cannabis. So it's highly likely that he would have used cannabis. Whether or not he was a regular smoker would be debatable. But a lot of people thought Jesus was a drunk because he was constantly at parties. So, I mean, he was probably smoking up too, I'm sure. There's plenty of times that he talked about and reinforced the things in the Old Testament that God said about that, giving us all the seed-bearing plants on this world to use and all that. So there's plenty of evidence that I would support that idea.
Agree with that. Dawn says we got the Republican convention in Milwaukee this summer. That'd be awesome. Wear a red hat, walk in there, say some stuff. Don says let's hotbox the Pfizer form. Love it.
Is it really a Republican, Democrat, a left-right thing? I know it's a stupid question, kind of, but I just think about all the people I know that are on the right that get high.
They're definitely
it's really. I really think the whole left-right thing is just another act of division. Like when you talk to people who are left or right and you ask them about individual issues, you find that they're both sides are pretty mixed. They're left on this issue, but they're right on this issue, and they're a little more left on that one and a little more right. But we just want to, our human brains aren't good at uniqueness, and just figuring that everyone has a little bit of everything in them. And then we just group people and we're just like, oh, they're so right wing, or he's so left wing. But we're just people.
And 100% of my plan is to keep talking to the people who haven't signed on to, which is the majority, especially the Republicans who haven't signed on to the adult responsible use bill that was presented by Senator Agard a few months back. Because in sitting down to, like, the guy we interviewed Monday, he said he was ranked one of the two most conservative elected officials in the assembly, and he is for legalization of adult responsible use. So either there's misconceptions somewhere, or people are saying things that aren't true, because what I want to do is get people on the record. Are you for it or you're not? Okay, you are. Great. Now you're on the list of, once we figure out how we're going to do this, you're going to sign it then, right? Or you're lying to us. So it does appear like the Republicans haven't had a non-pill form medical bill in quite some time, which is kind of concerning. But again, it could be because of your boss in the party, who decides how you vote on almost everything if you want to stay in office. Could be a thing. I'm not sure. It's just one of the many theories I'm trying to figure out, because again, so far the Republicans I've sat down with have all said that boss's bills was way too restrictive and stuff for them. I'm like, okay, so why aren't we doing something about that when 86% of the state wants it medically legal? So at least for for us, it should definitely not be a left versus right thing. Us, the people. I don't think any topic should be that. Obviously, I'm sure you guys would agree with that. But
does the state of Wisconsin realize how much money they can make and how much money has gone out of state?
Right.
How much money they're spending to lock people up for cannabis, and how much money they spend on the court dates and everything else.
Imagine the money they could make and fix the roads or whatever in the state. Use that money for something good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to Illinois and Michigan and probably Minnesota now.
Right. Well, and
I don't know if they ever talk about the money aspect of it at all.
So I actually now when I go, I bring the reports for what Michigan and Illinois sold every month of the last year. So if they weren't, they're getting the information now, because it's obviously ridiculous.
Okay. Yeah, all that money could be going back into schools. Exactly. All of that money could be going back into schools. We wouldn't have to drop a teacher. We wouldn't have to drop nothing, Right. A lot of that's what you see in a lot of legal states is the cannabis industry is a lot of money is going into the school system. A lot of money is going into the roads. A lot of money is going into the things that people actually care about, because they're having a say in it, and it's amazing to me. Like, you drive through Colorado and there's signs all over the place. This section of highway is supported by, this cannabis shop. This section of highway is supported by this cannabis shop, and it's just shows you that this is going to do good on more levels than people think. It's going to be good for the roads, for the school system, for the meth addiction that's running rampant in our state, heroin that's starting to take over the lower half. And I don't think people are realizing all of the issues that this is really going to help with. Suicide rates are lower in states that have legalized. Prescription pill use is down in states that have legalized. Like, all of that is going to get way better, dude. And I don't think people realize how big of a key cannabis is to that whole thing.
And the neat thing with that is, when you look at so I started reading a question while I was trying to talk. I got to read the question now. That's the issue I had with 64A. I don't think weed money should be going to schools. Put it towards the roads, the police, the fire departments, etc., and devote that money to the schools. Fair. That's a pretty good take. Hopefully the new maps helps as well, though. Don said we need to get somebody to run against Voss. Where's Voss's area again? Voss's district. We do need to find somebody out there. Voss district for assembly. What do we got here? The 63rd Assembly District, which is located in the city of Burlington and the villages of Rochester, Union Grove, and Stewartvant, as well as most of the village of Mount Pleasant. We got anybody in here that's from that area that wants to
Also,
run?
southeast, very southeastern Wisconsin.
Yep, we're down there. That's towards the bottom.
I'd go back to what Kayla said there, and I guess I got to disagree with that. That I think that mindset that weed money shouldn't go towards schools. I think that that's kind of another demonizing mindset. That the weed money is somehow icky money now.
Oh, that's a good point.
It shouldn't be used to fund children's education because it's like dirty money because it came from selling weed or something. I think that's more of that demonized mindset coming. I really think that, and then if we took the weed money, like she suggests here, to put that towards the roads, and then the money we save from the roads, divert that to the schools, well, then the money that we came from the weed just went to the schools in the roundabout way anyways. So I really think that I think it would be helpful. Cannabis helps people on a medicinal front, and then it helps the money from it, helping the children too. Like, I think that's just all around helping the world be a better place.
Well, and it's tough because like when I saw coats for kids or certain stuff like that, it's like, oh, that'd be cool. But then I'm like, oh, they probably won't let us because let's legalize Wisconsin. And like, that sucks because that shouldn't be a thing, in my opinion, because if you're helping each other, I mean, I would do it without the name recognition. Even like we got to just find a way to work together and definitely get over that hump. I think you're onto something there.
Mm-hmm.
Paula lives in Voss's area. Paula, we need to start interviewing some folks down there. See if we can't figure out somebody. That would just be awesome. If we could get somebody good to run for office down there. I try to avoid overselling the tax money. I like lower taxes, 100%.
Mm-hmm. It kind of sucks that sometimes that feels like that's our main leg in the fight, doesn't it? Like that's our main incentive to get them to fucking legalize. We're like, hey, come on, the money, you fucking crooked bastards. Look at all the money you could have.
No, I feel that, dude.
Not the people that it could help, but the money.
Matt, if you want to check out Kayla's comment real quick.
Yeah, you bet.
Don says, Bobby, do you feel like moving? Not that far. No, sir. I'd go north. If there's something north, I'd go north. Definitely wouldn't mind. Maybe Marinette. They're a little behind the times. Marinette County, which is right on the border of Menominee, Iron Mountain.
I could see that being an underlying mindset that might be caused by the money from cannabis going to the schools.
Right. Thomas says, I may have missed this answer. If you had previously, is there truth in Wisconsin Tavern League spending a lot of money on prohibition of cannabis? Not at this time that you can that I can track, and also in talking to the state board, one of them is actually a hemp grower and makes hemp products, and says he's sick and tired of hearing that they are the issue. So that's where I was like, well, cool, then let's hop on a podcast and talk about it. So hopefully we'll get them on a podcast here. But I want to bring legal here. I like this place. Exactly. That would be awesome. Holy shit, guys. We've been on here for an hour and 15 minutes. What's going on? Holy smokes. Did you guys have any ideas or questions you wanted to share with the group here? Any ideas to bounce off each other? I feel like we got some good brain waves going on here with this group. Good vibe.
I'll just put it out there that I really I think that legalization is going to cut down on the old idea that weed is a gateway drug, and that it brings you into using other drugs. I don't think weed ever makes you want to use other drugs. Well, I can't really say that because I do know some recovering heroin addicts who've told me, man, I just don't touch weed because like it kind of gives me that downer feeling and it makes me want to go put a needle in my arm and shoot up heroin. And I'm like, dude, well then don't fucking touch weed ever again. Like if something makes you want to do that, don't fucking do it, But for me, it always brought me back to a normal place. Like my head will be off in some crazy shit. I'll be thinking about killing myself or smoking meth or just running off and just destroying my life, and smoke a little weed. And all of a sudden it brings me back to the here and now. And I'm like, why was I just thinking that? Like, I don't know what came over me. All of a sudden I'm laughing and giggling and I want to watch Jurassic Park and have a good night. For me, it's never been the gateway other than, well, I guess in the beginning, but I think that was more because I was young. I was struggling with depression, anxiety, youth problems, and I was kind of dabbling with alcohol and smoking weed. And smoking weed made me feel better. It took away the depression, the anxiety. Well, my young brain didn't make that connection that the weed is what's helping you. Me, it was just like, I feel better because I'm fucked up, So I just continued getting fucked up. And it kind of led me into smoking meth and other things because I ended up being around those kind of people because I was smoking weed. And the common denominator between the guy who only smokes weed and the guy who does all of the drugs, the common denominator between those guys becomes weed, So there's where I see the gateway factor. And I think legalization is going to cut down on that hugely, because if you legalize now, dude who just smokes weed, doesn't do anything else, can just go to the dispensary and get weed. He doesn't have to go meet this guy who's going to try to upsell you. He's going to be like, hey, man, yeah, you're always getting weed, but, I got some coke, man. You want to try some of that? Or I got some Molly, or I got some whatever, because he's a salesman. He doesn't care that you might get hooked on it and it might be laced and everything else. So I really am just a huge supporter of legalization and of cannabis in general as a tool or as recreational, because even like myself, it's mostly medicinal, but there is a level of recreation to it. I do enjoy it. I still love the social aspect of it too. And some people demonize it on that, but I'm like, dude, one of the biggest problems with people with mental illnesses is we don't like taking our fucking medicine. Like we always have that problem. Like people who struggle with that stuff is like, can't get us to take our pills. And here we have a natural substance that we like to take our medicine. To me, that's a huge positive, dude. Like your patient actually wants to take their medicine, dude. That's great. That's great. And I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to legalization into like the world that we're going to move into.
100%. Let's end it with one more question that's off the books here, or off the topic. Let's see here. Imagine a world where cannabis was a universal currency. How would society change? It'd be a lot more chill, bro.
Yeah. Because they say money talks, right? So then cannabis would be talking. So
you'd have to be working on. I'd be learning to grow the best shit ever. So like, I'd be doing a lot of gardening tips and watching YouTube videos. But I think it'd be neat if you could grow your own, and then you're growing, it'd be a money tree, bro, like a legit money tree. But no, I would just be, if it was currency, I'd be broke, man, because if it was not accepted, I would just go everywhere and just be like, oh, these people are stressed out. Oh, here's some of my money or currency. Like, hey, let's kick it, or let's chill. Let's make your day better. So
then would there be like a bud of this would be equivalent to say $5, and a bud of this type would be $10. I mean,
I'm thinking
dive deep into this.
No, I'm thinking so, and we don't mess with change, so it's got to be like at least a joint or a bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be bringing like.
Well, if you go to like Jamaica and stuff, that's a common courtesy or a common currency down there is weed. My brother Todd, he doesn't smoke weed, but he went to Jamaica and he told me everywhere he went, he'd try and buy something, and the guys would try and pay him back pay him in change with weed. They'd be like, "Here, man, you don't take this," and he's like, "No, I don't smoke weed. I want money back." They're like, they'd get all angry because they want to keep your weed. They just want to give you some fucking. You're an American. They just want to give you weed and get you out of their hair, you know.
Waldo says they would learn how to run dabs real fast. That's a good idea. And then Don says, "Can I borrow some currency from you?" There you go. I'd like to take out a loan today, sir. Well, cool, man. Hey, I appreciate you guys swinging by tonight.
Yeah, this was fun.
Definitely. It's always fun to just kind of chop it up with you guys, talk cannabis. Look forward to doing this in person one day. And it sounds like you guys are in the same general area, so I'll probably have to come down that way.
Yeah, for sure, John. You'll have to send me a friend request. You're right over in my neck of the woods here.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure meeting both of you guys. I
really
you too,
enjoyed
it. So
kudos to you for just hopping on here, man.
Yeah, I'll see you in the podcast. And Maddie, such an inspirational story. I loved it.
Let's stay in touch, gentlemen.
Here, man,
nice speaking to you guys.
All right. Yeah, you guys too. Everyone have a good one.